Hi everybody, it's Diane from California Tea and Herbal. I hope you're feeling great today, and we're going to do a great recipe. Blueberry lemon scones, and I took this from a kind of a combination of recipe and technique between Sally's Baking Edition blog and Tyler Florence recipe for the Food Network. I changed the technique a little bit to make it simpler, I think, and so let's get going. I'd like to say before we start that this will get a lot easier for you if you get everything ready, prep everything, every ingredient ahead of time, so you can just throw it together quickly like I'm going to do. And so I'm going to put the whole recipe in the description below. Let's get going. Okay, here we go. Now, I have combined these ingredients already, and I put them in the freezer because the colder they are, the better it's going to be. So ahead of time, at least half an hour, I'd say to an hour ahead of time, combine your dry ingredients, grate your butter, and flour your blueberries. Now that'll look like this. Here's the butter, and then the blueberries, you just put a little flour on top and kind of work it up. What that'll do is prevent the blueberries from sticking together and clumping up when you add them later. And then your dry ingredients, get those all together, and right now I'm going to add as a final step the baking powder. So I'm going to put the amounts up where you can see them, and it'll also be in the recipe. So now I'm going to whisk together my dry ingredients, and that's my flour and sugar and salt and baking powder. And I'm whisking those together. And now, when those have been whisked together, here's the next step. Alright, so we have taken the dry ingredients and the butter and the berries out of the freezer now. And so I have combined the butter and I have combined the dry ingredients and then what I did was I put that nice grated frozen butter in with the dry ingredients after I whisked them together, and then I worked that through with my hands to kind of a crumbly, floury mixture here. And excuse me, now we're going to add our wet ingredients. And so I have a half cup of heavy or whipping cream, to which I've added a teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm going to put that in a small bowl, and then I'm going to add 1 large egg to that. Now, I'm going to whisk this together, and once this is whisked well, this nice creamy mixture, I will pour this over, kind of just distribute it over these dry ingredients. Now, once I get that done, I will add my flour-covered blueberries, and remember I floured them so they didn't stick together. And so I'm going to move all this out of my way to get my blueberries. And I'm going to, after though, I want to work this in with a spatula first. I don't want to get ahead of myself. And I'm always trying to keep the video time down so I don't go on and on. But I do have to work this through. And they're frozen. And what's really nice is since they're frozen, they keep this dough nice and cold. So after I have worked the blueberries in, I want to fold them in. Actually, I'm going to use my hands to do this because I want to make sure they're even. So after I get the blueberries worked through, I'll show you what the next step is together. And what we want to do is with floured hands, we want to work. And boy, we've got a lot of berries in this dough. Without working it too much, you want to work it into a nice round ball. And if your berries are coming out, just poke them back in. And so once you've got this into kind of a compact ball shape, then what you want to do is you want to flatten this out. And wow, you know, I added lots of berries, folks. I think I actually went at least, well, let's say a heaping cup. And if they don't look like they're distributed evenly, just move them around and get them as evenly distributed as you can. And then hook this down into about the size of a pie crust. And I'm going to, about an 8-inch pie crust. This is why you want them cold, because It really just helps the baking process if on scones your ingredients are as cold as possible. Now, don't want to flour this again, but you want to take, and let me wipe my hands off. Okay, now we're going to cut this dough, and we'll cut it in half. Then we'll cut it in fourths. And you're going to need a big sharp knife. And then we're going to cut them in eighths. They look like little pie wedges. Another reason you want to make sure this dough is super firm is so that when you cut it, you can get it without sticking together here. So scones aren't the easiest thing to make, but I think this is a pretty easy recipe. Now, either on a silicone sheet, or I always use the parchment lined cookie sheet, we want to put these in, and we want to leave just, a few inches apart, because they are, let's turn them like this. I'm going to move this over here. These are going to grow quite a bit. They're going to raise because that baking powder is, let's see, let's put a few this way. That baking powder is going to kick in, and let's turn you here, and we'll get a really nice sized scone here. Okay, everybody, these are going in at a low middle rack, and we'll shut the door here. My old oven finally gave out, so I just got a new stove and oven. So happy about it. And we'll leave those in for about 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, everybody, here they are. Hope you can see them. If I lift it up, they'll go sliding off this plate. But I took them out. It took a full 25 minutes, so it'll adjust that to your oven. And they're cooling. They've been cooling about 5 minutes. And now the final step. We're going to make this delicious lemon glaze. And we've got a cup of confectioner's sugar. And we've got 2 or slightly more tablespoons of lemon juice. Let it pour over the top. So let me just start pouring this right over the top of these scones. And I'm going to get carried away. I've got to make sure I save enough to cover each one. And I don't try to make them look real pretty, because I just want to make sure that we have lots and lots of glaze per scone. Alright, well, after a session of scone baking, I'm ready to have one, and I've chosen a wedge here and put some melted butter on it, a little bit of pat of butter, and then I chose some very bold Assam. That's scones tend to be heavy, and so I like to match my tea with my type of food I'm eating. So I chose Assam, and I just put in a little splash of that heavy cream because it can actually hold that, and it's tough enough to, like coffee, to take some cream. Okay, everybody, I want to thank you again today for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that if you haven't subscribed, you will. If you would share this with friends who are interested in tea, we'd appreciate it. We enjoy doing it. Like if you liked it, and we'll be back with more great info on tea. So see you next time. That scone was delicious.